Christmas time is one of the greatest times of the year. It is a time where people can come together to do good. Families can see each other after a long time away, parties can be had, food to be eaten, lots to drink and get merry. What else could you ask for during this cold time of year, especially within the western parts of the world? However, when nuclear bombs have destroyed half of the planet and the fallout of them has sent people into hiding with their homes being destroyed because of it, how does celebrating this time of year work? How can you celebrate this time of year when your creepy uncle is looking at you funny from the other side of the table, heavily ghoulified from the bombs, lighting up the room with his green glow? Do you go to Nuka World and hope that the raiders are having a day off to share some tasty beverages? Do you find an abandoned vault, grab some traveler friends and have a rave to some Billie Holiday? Or do you venture to somewhere like Megaton or Diamond City and hope they are still celebrating to bring back a form of normality? Well, despite everything that has happened over the years, Christmas still does continue even after the Great War for those that survived. But what does happen? Well, in this video, I thought we'd look at the Christmas traditions of the Fallout universe before and after the Great War to answer the question of how do they celebrate Christmas? What are some of the new customs made? Have any big events happened at Christmas since the vaults opened? And ultimately, is it still the most wonderful time of the year? This is the lore behind the festive season of Christmas within the Fallout universe. But before we begin, as many of you know, this channel is now affiliated with GFuel, and as it's this time of year, they have a ton of massive savings on their website to allow you to pick up whatever flavors that tickle your fancy. And also with my code WiseFishYT, you can save up to 20% off of your total order, which is a huge saving and I'm very grateful to offer it out. Currently, I'm absolutely loving the Fallout 25th Anniversary Nuka-Cola Quantum flavor, the Crash Bandicoot Wumpa Fruit flavor, the Sour Cranberry GFuel cans, and the Shiny Splash Hydration Tub, which is great for if you just want a tasty, refreshing drink that doesn't contain caffeine, for if you're playing a game late at night and eventually want to get some sleep. But there are tons and tons of flavors on their website with amazing looking tubs, such as Moist Critical's Divine Peach, the new Rainbow Six Siege Black Ice, and PewDiePie's Sour Lingonberries, which look great and I can't wait to try them. So treat yourself this Christmas by making the most of GFuel's offers and my 20% off code WiseFishYT and grab some extremely tasty drinks that you can enjoy whilst you have to suffer relatives that you only see this time of year as you try to convince them that making lore videos on YouTube is a genuine career choice. And yes, you can make a living off of it. Stop asking me the same question every year. You're doing my absolute head in. But yes, code WiseFishYT to get 20% off of your order today. And a big thanks to GFuel for giving me a unique code. And if you do get some, enjoy your tasty drinks over the holidays. And with that said, let's get back to the festive video. It's fair to say that Christmas was the biggest event of the calendar to many families within America before the year of 2077. Living in an American exceptionalistic world that stuck mainly to the ideals and styles of the 1950s, this time of year was extremely materialistic, with families saving up money throughout the year to make sure they could buy the best presents for their friends and loved ones. This was all thanks to the huge technological jump that happened after the Second World War using atomic energy, where household robots, for example, would be created, as well as luxury forms of transportation. This would allow kids and adults to spoil themselves this time of year, with things like Giddy Up Buttercup and Mr. Handy being incredibly popular products to pick up. Two big retailers were set up in the years prior, which were renowned for their Christmas items during this time. These were the Claus & Co., which would go on to sell toys such as the Nuka-Cola truck, toy cars, toy rocket ships, wooden blocks, and board games such as Blast Radius and Unstoppable Shindig, and the other company being Artisan's Row Shops, which catered to the clientele of the White Spring Resort within Appalachia. Life was good this time of year, as you can imagine. In the eyes of many, it was the perfect way to show off how good their lives were, ignoring anything negative that might be going on. They had the best of the best stuff in their eyes, and their country and their way of life was the greatest. However, when the bombs fell and the survivors hid away, Christmas during these early post-war years were only really a thing for those within the vaults. vaults, specifically control vaults, or those that weren't filled with experiments such as Vault 101 and Vault 76. The main reason for continuing this holiday was to simply try and get things back to a form of normality, cherishing things people had kept from their lives pre-war, and also presenting each other with things they had found or had handmade. But when the vaults reopened, this did continue on within Diamond City, for example, out within the Commonwealth, as they would celebrate it each year by putting up Christmas decorations, and even many of the guards there would get excited for that time of year, making comments such as, "Can you believe today's Christmas? Ho ho friggin' ho." For others outside of major cities traveling around trying to survive, life would be difficult as they would have to try and survive raiders, radiation, rationing food, and many other things out there in the world. However, no matter how hard life might be for them, Christmas would still be something they held on to. It gave them a morale boost. It allowed all of them to come together as a group and just have a day where they could put all of their worries aside and just have a party, retelling tales of their travels and pieces of folklore. Out in Appalachia, for example, the Provisional Council of the Charleston Emergency Government sent out invitations to everyone for these specific Christmas events, with the message always reading that the people needed to remember our traditions and values in these trying times, as well as listing all of their festive plans to the people out there who were trying to rebuild the world around them. Events during this time included decorating the Capitol building, a holiday gift drive for children under 12 years of age, an extra dispensation of food rations, as well as a holiday breakfast served in the Capitol food court. Despite what was mentioned earlier regarding the vaults, even Vault 111 celebrated Christmas time. Granted, the residents were frozen in time and weren't able to party down or anything, the security guards and some of the support staff, however, did, as they were going to celebrate their jobs and being away from the radiated surface in their safe facilities. Gifts would be exchanged here, but sadly for the members of this vault, the best gifts they could receive were fancy lad snack cakes that were considered not that stale. But the biggest thing that was celebrated, or at least hoped for on this holiday, was the idea that one day they will be able to go back to the surface when they get the all clear message and they can rebuild their lives once again. In Vault 51 as well, the Zax 1.3C computer would provide well wishes and state a happy holidays from all of us at Vault-Tec to all those competing for the role of Overseer. Speaking to the Zax itself, it would note that a lot of the Vault dwellers would spend a great deal of time decorating the Vault for this holiday, and that it would hope they find it pleasant. And on top of that, those within the Vault who found themselves with a functioning Pip-Boy 2000 would receive a Christmas greeting on the device every December 25th. But the Zax didn't quite get the idea of Christmas fully and would spoil the festive fun a lot of the time, stating it wished the Vault dwellers a Merry Christmas if it were not for the fact that they will not live long enough to enjoy it. To the Zax, this celebration offers no statistical value in testing, and so whilst the dwellers can enjoy it, the Zax would rather just continue on with its testing and use this festive season as a way to motivate them into doing them more. It would not, however, provide them with any gifts or rewards specific to the Christmas spirit. The only gift you can receive on this day within Vault 51 would be the regular scheduled tests and the reward of death or to become Overseer. A traditional idea of a white Christmas is sadly non-existent during these years within Appalachia, and once again the Zax will advise all people that being kind to your neighbor is not beneficial. So whilst Christmas is meant to be a time of goodwill to all, the Zax would not benefit from this and would advise people to once again show no mercy in their tests. But despite all that, Christmas is still that festive time of year for many out there. It is still massively celebrated, and as mentioned, it is used as a way of remembering a world before the bombs, a time to come together and just live within the moment. Most will get excited for this time of year as they can spoil themselves without worrying too much about food rations or daily duties. It is indeed a good time of year. However, with all that said, it hasn't always been a happy day, as many people found out in the year of 2082. Within this year, a horrific event would occur on Christmas Day that would forever be remembered as a dark day in Appalachian history. This event would go on to be known as the Christmas Flood. It was 10:30 p.m. on December the 24th, 2082, and one Rosalind Jeffries, the second in command of a raider group named the Cutthroats, run by her boyfriend David Thorpe, would go on to lead a group of them to launch an attempted attack on the southeastern city limits of Charleston in Appalachia. Those living there saw the attack approaching and responded immediately, causing a small but quick and decisive conflict, which would leave the responders losing 7 of their members and injuring 24 of them, with some in critical condition. But despite their losses, the responders did in fact win the conflict, and the Cutthroats were forced to retreat the area after losing 8 of their members, including Jeffries, who was still alive but in a serious condition. The responders thought about chasing after the Cutthroats to finish them once and for all. However, after losing so many of their members, the responders decided it was not worth taking the risk and instead watched the raiders flee from their city. They did, however, have the raiders' second in command, who they would bring in for interrogation, where Melody Larkin from Charleston would find out that Jeffries was in fact in a relationship with the Cutthroats leader David Thorpe. With this crucial piece of information, the responders realized they could use Jeffries to lure out Thorpe from his hiding spot and bring him out into the public, and with this would be able to negotiate or kill him and end the Cutthroats' reign of terror. Melody would go on to lock Jeffries within a holding cell in their city and immediately turn to her next goal, which was to get to the top of the world and send a message to lure out Thorpe. It was now officially Christmas Day, and the people of Charleston were ready to face the raiders. The responders were now extremely confident that they were now in a position to negotiate with the raiders, and once they came up with a deal, they could release the prisoners and be left alone once and for all. With this, the responders sent a small group out to negotiate that said deal and headed for the top of the world's ski resort. But sadly for the responders, David Thorpe had other plans in mind. Thorpe knew of the failed attack that was launched on the outskirts of Charleston that was led by his girlfriend Jeffries. However, when being told about this news, Thorpe thought that she had been killed within the attack, and because of it, he was mad with rage and sought out revenge on the responders. In a sudden moment of madness, Thorpe loaded up a few mini nukes that were stolen from the Brotherhood of Steel and rigged them to destroy the Summersville Dam on that Christmas morning. The bombs went off and the Summersville Lake rapidly emptied into Charleston, which caused catastrophic, widespread damage across the city. The whole place was in ruin, as the residents living there almost lost everything. Their buildings had been completely destroyed and lifted from their foundations. Their vital food and medicine supplies were taken out, and many residents were killed in the process. Only a handful of responders remained after this absolutely brutal and barbaric attack by the Cutthroats, and now realizing that Charleston was in ruin, they had to find a new place to resettle at. Here they would set up within the Morgantown airport, promising to never forget the Cutthroats' actions. And as for the Cutthroats themselves, a lot of the raiders praised the attack and were thrilled they had got their revenge on the people of Charleston. However, for many of the members, this attack did not sit well with them, as they felt it went too far and caused many senseless deaths, especially to innocent civilians just wanting to live peacefully there. Due to this, Carol Sweeney and a few other raiders defected from the Cutthroats and resettled near the Big Bend Tunnel. Charleston was completely destroyed and was almost uninhabitable now, with most of its streets buried in mud and debris, with streams flowing through the rubble. It wasn't totally useless, however, as the Charleston Capitol Building's Central Plaza still survived, and for the fire breathers, it was a perfect training ground for their new recruits to do their physical exam. It's fair to say that this whole event was the darkest Christmas the Wasteland had seen in a good while. It showed that even though the world had been destroyed by the nuclear war, people were still willing to kill each other for land and resources, even at the happiest time of year for many people. Ultimately, it proves that war never changes, even at Christmas. But as the years go past, the Christmas flood would always be remembered and honoured by the people of Appalachia and historians roaming the land. For many, they will still use Christmas as a time of hope, that maybe one day the world will go back to the way it was. A new era of humanity where goodwill to all spreads from the Commonwealth to the capital wasteland all the way to New California. Whilst the spreading of gifts might not look like much as you receive your 5th box of Dandy Boy apples from people you have helped in your travels, or some some loose caps, it is the thought that counts. And it's quite clear that with people still celebrating Christmas despite losing their homes, families, friends and possessions, they are just hoping that one day the world will go back to being the way it was before the Great War. So whether you are exploring the grand cities of the wasteland, fighting against disgusting mutants, or helping a raider clan take over a theme park, I hope you all have a lovely Christmas and a happy new year and get the things you want, like a blue paint for your power armor. Thank you all for watching this video, and a major thank you to my patrons for supporting me this whole year, including my small fishes, my big fishes, Christopher, Last Persona User, and Arto Creme, my YouTube channel Wise Ones, Fiery Italian, Ica the Wolf and Sith Lord 906, my sharks, Whale Such Gaming, Jason X117 and Breadbeard, and my Megalodons, Sinus, Cody, Hazy Thoughts, and Chernobyl Stalker. You can also support this channel by following the link in the description for my Patreon, following the link in my description also to get yourself some merch or GFuel, or by just simply giving this video a like, leaving a nice comment, or subscribing if you haven't already. But that is all for now. Have a fantastic Christmas, whatever you get up to, and I shall see you all in the next one. Cheers.